Once again, it's time for the Team Lift podcast with your hosts, Brandon Bowie and Roderick McDaniel. Let's go ahead and get right into the show. What up, everybody? You're talking with your boy, Coach Silky, today, and at Thighside. Thighside, what's up, man?
Not much.
Why are you that excited?
I'm always this excited. This is my happy face.
Oh, shit. I don't think I've ever called us by our names, man. I've never called us. I always call us by our real names. But I was like, you know what? Today, it's Thighside and Coach Silky.
Yep.
That's our learn the Twitter handles. And I think too many people know the Twitter handles. You were actually watching a conversation that I was having this week with an editor for Rice Digital.
Mm-hmm.
Best friends with this guy now on there. I love Rice Digital, but my boy Matt at Rice Digital is throwing down, man. And we may have to get him on the show here pretty quick, man. He's definitely interested in what we're doing here. But it was cool. So that's why I had to tag you into the conversation so you'd be knowing, hey, I think I'm booking people on Twitter.
Yes, I looked at it and I was like, what is... Oh, okay. I know what's going on now.
Yeah, I'm booking through Twitter. And if you want to be on this show with Thighside and Brandon and I, come on, man. Hit us up. I guess the best way to actually hit us on Twitter. Yeah. Hit us on the Facebook page.
Facebook, email, Twitter.
Or hit us at the email. Yeah, so go teamlift@gmail.com.
Yep.
Easiest way, because we're booking people like crazy. So now the big show's done. We've already brought on the product managers for DICE.
So we've had 62 views on that one on YouTube.
Just on the YouTube page alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting to get some people looking at that now.
Yeah.
We're starting to get some ears on it, man. We need just everybody share away, man. We need your help. We're trying to do some big things, and we're bringing in more guests. Now, today, we're going to do something just a little bit weird. So can we just start calling these anime specials?
I mean, we could call them an anime special. We could just do a regular issue.
Yeah, it's not really a regular issue because all we're going to discuss on this whole episode is anime.
That's fine.
And the reason we're doing this is because when we started the show, we did discuss manga and anime. But it kind of gets squeezed out because we actually cover a lot of freaking news stories. Like if you listen to us, I don't know if you listen to our shows because we do them and you don't really go back and listen to them.
I generally tend to listen to them because I do the post.
Well, yeah, I went back and started listening to our shows, and I can see the progression that we gone through. And so in the progression, I start going, you know what? We used to cover like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, and then we covered comic books, movies.
Games.
TV, games. And we did, when it came to games, it didn't matter. We were console, PC. Then we did our PC news. Then we did manga and anime. We have grown, and we are almost straight industry news now.
Yeah.
That's all we do is straight industry news.
I think what did it was, E3, and then right after that, and Comic-Con.
Yeah, we did our E3 special. We did our Comic-Con special. Because I guess we did Comic-Con. No, we did E3 for Marvel.
We did E3 first, and then we did Comic-Con.
And then we did Comic-Con Marvel, Comic-Con DC. Then there was a Comic-Con special where we just picked up stuff that wasn't necessarily under those, but that was really interesting. That kind of fell through the cracks. So we've really branched out. We've grown. We're covering a lot of information. So our way of giving back to our fans, mostly there's a couple people who have been vocal about us not doing anime.
Yeah.
Adrian Oliva, our homie, Bro Leva himself. Joe Nathan and his brother Carlos have also noticed, hey, you guys don't cover anime and manga anymore. And man, Joe Nathan being the super fan, he pays attention to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're right. We don't. It's kind of been bumped out and squeezed out. So we're going to start doing these specials every now and then. We got one. This is the first one.
We're having a fire sale on anime.
This is a fire sale on anime. So today's special is going to actually be called this. It's Roderick's personal Top 8 romantic anime. I could have gave you a top 10, but I said no. If I put a top 10 in there, I'm liable to give you 2 that are just going to be filler. I'm going with 8, and that 8 has to hit you either in your eyes and make you cry, or in your heart and make you cry, or it's a romantic comedy and it just gives you the feels and makes you laugh. That's what I did. So I put together my top 8 romantic anime.
So what's number 8?
If we're going to jump right into it, I'm going to go with this one. Number 8 is a crazy romantic comedy leaning more to the comedy side called Sakano, and it's How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And when this thing came out, I gave it a 9. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I rated everything on a scale of 1 to 10. A 9 is a great. I only have maybe 4 animes that I've ever given a 10 to. And they're classics, like Akira. It has to, Princess Mononoke. You got to be you got to be something huge for you to get a 10 out of me. And this was a 9. And for a TV show, that's pretty big for me. Because, and what it is it's, if you're listening to this show, let me just tell you this. You can find all this on Crunchyroll. You can find it on Hulu. Some of them are going to be on Funimation. I know some people like to just use the free sites. They like to go there and do it. But I don't recommend those. What's up?
I think we're missing a number.
How do you say that?
Because it goes 6 and then 8.
No, 7's on the back.
Oh, the back. Okay.
Yeah, see, I hooked you up. Stupid. I even wrote out a script for this for you, man.
Stupid.
Yeah,
there we go.
I
okay.
hooked you up, bro.
Front and back.
I did front and backs today. So, Sakano, and I'll tell you what it was about this show, man. First of all, it was about this guy, and, like, he was obsessed with, like, collecting anime and light novels. Like, that was his thing. He was a big otaku. Kind of like myself. Maybe that's why I liked him, because I saw a little bit of myself in him. All right? And he's like starts getting like into the series and the characters, and then all of a sudden he has this thing that happens to him. Like he sees this girl up on a hill and the cherry blossoms are blowing, and he realizes, oh my God, this is my moment. This is out of a dating sim. This is my moment. There's this beautiful girl.
Luther Vandross is playing in the background.
Bro, it should have been. Like, when the way the anime set it up, it was what I would call a grown man moment. Luther Vandross is playing, candles are lit, and I'm about to say, mm-hmm. And this was it. It was his anime love story moment. And then as soon as it's like he looks up at this girl and he's like, oh my God, this is her. And so then he never gets, her hat blows down to him, and he never meets her. He never gets her name. It's just this romantic moment, and it's fleeting. And he's, he doesn't know what to do with himself, right? Mm-hmm. So he starts coming up with this idea like, hey, I'm going to make a video game, all right? And I'm going to make a dating sim. And it's I got to capture that magical moment into a game. Make my own dating sim. And so like he gets his like best friend, his childhood friend, this girl named Eri. She's going to illustrate it. And then there's this other girl at his school named Utah, and she is like this literary genius. Like she has books published and she's in high school under her pen name. So she's like a literary genius, and he's going to get her to write the script for his visual novel, and he's going to direct it, right? And then he's trying to figure out who was this girl that was the inspiration. I wish I could meet the girl that's the inspiration for this. And this fool finds out it is one of the most boring, fly-on-the-wall girls at his school. Like, he didn't even realize they took classes together. Like, she's that boring. But she's, like, deadpan funny. Like, everything she says, she just, I don't know. But she says it like that, but she says some of the most brutal and hilarious things in that soft voice. And I found myself laughing uncontrollably watching this show. Because she figures out that, he's an otaku. And so, like, she's worried about, how much hentai do you watch? And
all of it.
Where are we trying to do when you mean I'm your muse? What do you mean by all this? And it was hilarious, man. And I started, and here's how I judge it. To judge these, to get into my top 8, I picked a group of friends. Manly men. I'm a manly man. And these are guys that, we watch anime, but, I'm like, okay, we're going to do this journey together. We're going to watch these animes, and you got to rate them with me. And so these are guys that watch the most violent, sword-fighting, giant robot shit you can find. Mm-hmm. That's them. And I had them all watch this with me. And what got me was damn near every single one of them gave this a 9. They were all like, yeah, that's an 8, that's a 9. They all loved it. So I was like, it's a really good one. I recommend this one wholeheartedly to everybody. And the thing is, you kind of watch this team of oddballs come together to try to make this visual novel. In fact, it turns out his cousin, who's like a real big musician, he's like, hey, I want you to do the music for my game. I won't do the music for my game unless you can get my band booked at a gig. He ends up taking on some stuff. And it almost turns like it had the chance to become one of those harem animes where every girl wants him. and he's desirable by every girl. But what happens is, instead of him going for that cheesy route, he actually does become a really good friend to every girl on the show, and tries to help them, achieve whatever their dreams are, whatever they're trying to achieve in their life, while at the same time getting his visual novel finished with him. Loved it. It was really good. So, and I kind of like stuff about people who do stuff in the industry and want to build a visual novel, because I think it would be neat to make my own game with a group of friends. But I just wouldn't want it to be a team of women. I don't want to do that. I mean, I already deal with enough dudes that act like a team of women. I don't want to actually work on a team of women. I just rather deal with the dudes that I know that are going to act like women sometimes and be petty and argumentative. Like, there are sometimes I've had better times working on teams of women because some of my guy friends are so petty.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was really good. I liked that anime, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, yeah, that's going to come in at number 8. All right. Number 7 would be Plastic Memories. Now, this one messed me up, man. I'm going to tell you something. This is so messed up. I had to go copy this one from myanimellist.net, and I love this place, man. But this one here jacked me up, and I did not know how to describe this thing. So it's like
Looks like it's got a little bit of Blade Runner in it.
Yes. So yeah, you see the whole thing. It's like this guy, he's Chisaka. He's failed his college entrance exams, but after pulling some strings, he manages to land a job at the Scion Artificial Intelligence Corporation, SAI Corp, right? And it's responsible for the creation of Giftias. The Giftias are highly advanced androids which are almost indiscernible from normal humans. However, unlike normal humans, Giftias have a maximum lifespan of 81,920 hours, or around 9 years and 4 months. Okay? Now, he ends up getting his job at Terminal Surface 1, and what they do is they're responsible for collecting the Giftias that have met their expiration date. Before they lose their memories and they become hostile. So here's what happens. If you stay out past your 81,000 hours, right? If you stay out past the hours, your memory starts to falter. And when it starts to falter, you start doing crazy stuff. So you can become like radically violent, just like in Blade Runners.
Yeah.
And then they have to put you down. So instead of having people get hurt, or the clients that get these Giftias having to go through the pain of, watching a loved one get killed, this team, the terminal service team, goes out and collects you. And they set up this whole thing about how they collect. It'd be like this. And so I'll tell you how it goes, man. One of the people they collect from, this lady, she never had children. She was 86 years old. She always thought it would be neat to have a granddaughter. So that's what her Giftia was. She did a girl. That was her granddaughter.
Yeah.
And she kept her for 9 years and the 4 months. And when the girl was getting ready to go down, the people had to come visit her. And then they were like, here's how we'll do it. We'll collect her around this time. It's going to give you a month to kind of get ready for her to go away. And they set up a way, they do stuff with you and the Giftia, so that you'll set memories for you to remember. And it's not really for the Giftias. The androids are about to have their memories wiped. But it's more for, instead of it being for it's more for the humans.
Yeah.
And so it starts going into the whole thing with Blade Runner, like, these Giftias know what's happening to them. So when do you cross the line and you're sentient? They know what's going on. The androids, so am I a real person that's been programmed in a way that I'm going to be hostile, that y'all couldn't program me better and treat me like a human? Because you're using me for human stuff. And some people, like one guy, couldn't get a girlfriend, programmed a Giftia. And then tried to run off with his girlfriend because he really fell in love with the android. And she fell in love with him. And so they're capable of human emotions. So out of all of these, man, I really thought this show is crazy.
Yeah.
This show was super, super, super crazy because it was a love story, though, in there. So here's what happens. This guy, right, is now on this team, and he's partnered with this, she's gorgeous. Her name was Isla. And she's a terminal service veteran, and she's considered the best in Giftia retrievals. And she's like got this really petite frame. She's got a really docile nature about her. And what he starts to find out is, hey man, I'm kind of falling in love with this girl, but the problem is that she's a Giftia and her time's about to be expire too. So what he does is he knows he's falling for her, she's falling for him. They're working together. Her time's about to expire. So he decides that she's always kind of avoided relationships with people, because she says, hey, what's the point in having memories and people being sad and me being sad? Why should I do that? And so he starts breaking down the walls, and he actually starts to create. He says, I know your time's coming up, but I'm going to create these memories with you, and we're going to have these memories together. So I was like, bro, first of all, it was intelligent enough to pull me in with the Blade Runner appeal. And then two, you kind of gave me a love story in there. I was like, I'm here. I'm with this. You seem interested in this one.
It reminds me of this TV show. It doesn't have the same base plot, but there are artificially intelligent robots that are essentially look like humans. They're androids, and they're basically used mostly for menial tasks like cleaning, cooking, taking care of the elderly, dispensing medication, driving, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So some of them have been upgraded by the original creator to exhibit all the facets of human intelligence and human nature. It's a British show. It's really well done, and kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah. Now, I think the thing that gets me about this, if you like that show, I think you would like this one, especially if you like Blade Runners, because to me, Blade Runners was dark and more action-packed, real gritty kind of film noir feel to it.
Yeah.
This one here is like, what if we did Blade Runners as a romantic comedy and really looked at, the emotions that went into these androids. And the thing about it was that it plays itself off as a romantic comedy, but it's more of a drama than it is a comedy. I mean, it's some really poignant moments in this thing. Like, it's almost like it's more like a soap opera. It's more drama than it is comedy. But I really liked it. Plastic Memories was really good. On this one, I gave it an 8. And I know for a fact this is still, I think I watched it when it first came out, which was like back in spring 2015. I think even now you can go find this one on Crunchyroll. I want to say it's on Crunchyroll, and I think it's on Hulu.
Everything's on fucking Crunchyroll.
Damn near everything. If you don't, to me, if you're an anime fan and you live in America, you have no excuse not to own Crunchyroll, Funimation, and Hulu. Crunchyroll, Funimation, and Hulu. Netflix, you may own. They're going to get a little bit of anime, and Netflix is really starting to do more original programming.
Yeah.
So, like, stuff that they brought over, like, what was, one of my favorites that they brought over was...
Voltron?
But the Voltron was DreamWorks. It was more of their production, but they did this one called Ajin, Ajin, which was really good. And then they did the Knights of Sidonia series. They did season 1 and season 2 of that came here. They brought those over, and those were Netflix originals. They originally aired in Japan, the full series, and then Netflix exclusively brought them over. So it's kind of cool that, Netflix is starting to step their game up anime-wise and bring in some of those more stylized ones. But, time will tell where they go with that, though. So that would have been number 7. Number 6, straight up, once again, we're going back to romantic comedies. And if anybody wants to know, if anybody has any questions about these, they can always write to us, contact me. If you have something that you are starting to disagree with, that's why it's called Roderick's Personal. But that's the stuff we're going to want to hear, because I already know, like, Belly has already contacted me about some of these. He's upset with where some of these fall in place. So this is one of them. And it was called Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. And this is firmly a comedy. This is, it's about this girl. She's head over heels in love with this guy named Nozaki, right, at her high school. Right? I think his name is like Yumataru Nozaki, right? And man, she's head over heels. He's handsome. He's rugged. He's quiet. He never talks. She's like, oh my God, I love him and I love everything about him. And she's pining away from him. And so she decides one day, you know what? I'm going to confess my love for him. And I'm going to let him know how I feel for him. Right? And I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. She's really about to just start episode 1, first 3 minutes. She just told me she's in love with this guy, and she's going to confess her feelings to him. And when she goes up to try to confess her feelings to him, somehow it comes out really weird, and she gets nervous. So he ends up signing an autograph for her and hands her an autograph and says, yeah, no problem. You don't have to be nervous. And he signs the autograph, and he's walking away. And she was like,
what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. Why did this dude just give me an autograph? She's trying to figure out what happened. And what it turns out is that this quiet, deadpan, serious, rugged guy writes one of the greatest girl mangas ever. It's like known all. It's like international hit. He's the author of it.
Yeah.
And nobody knows it's the guy that's writing it. They all think it's a girl or some young lady because he gets the conversations down to a science and he really gets into the relationships and he pays attention to how people act and the reaction and he illustrates it and he writes it. And women are just buying it. Women and men are buying his manga up, but they don't know it's a guy that's writing it. And so he figures, oh, she figured out who I am, and he signs a little autograph and he's walking away and she's like, what? Why did you just give me this autograph? So what she finds out is that he's writing this, and in Japan they call it, I think, shujo, which is, shoujo is for boys, shujo is for women. Man, this thing gets hilarious. And because of it, like, she, kind of befriends him, and then what she starts finding out is that he's been looking at all of his classmates and watching their relationships, and he's basing his entire manga off of these people.
Yeah.
It's all these friends. So like there's the kid that's super serious and his best friend, which is this girl that's in the drama club, and she always plays these roles. She has some manly features, so she always plays guy roles in the drama, and she's head over heels in love for him, and he thinks she's too aloof. And he just started watching his friends and paying attention to these, and the friends don't even realize they're in relationships. Like they don't think they're in a romantic relationship, but he looks at them and goes, yeah, kind of like we do Chris and Kelsey. We look at him and just go, you two don't even know you're dating, but you hate each other. Okay.
When you were telling me about how he writes all the women's parts and they don't understand how he can write them so well, it just reminds me of As Good as It Gets.
Jack Nicholson film.
Yeah.
I know this film.
She says, "How do you write women so well?" He says, "I think about men, and then I take away reason and accountability."
And he is such a douchebag in that movie. But I love that film. Man. Which tells, okay, here's my thing. And people ask me this. How do you watch so much romantic anime? I had 5 daughters. I had 7 kids, 5 girls, and I was married. And if I wanted to watch an anime, to get them to shut up so I could watch it in peace, I started watching romantic animes that were like, oh, it's a romantic comedy. And they would start watching it and be like, well, wait a minute, you got to read it. Yeah, so be quiet so we can see, pay attention. And I started watching these, and next thing I know, my daughters started watching them with me. And then all of a sudden it became this thing. It's like, I'm secretly turning you all into otaku. I'm just doing this so I can watch anime without you bothering me. So you're all going to have to watch romantic anime so that I can keep you quiet long enough to not bother me. But yeah, that was really it. I had a blast with it though, man. This one, Nozaki-kun, and here's the thing. A lot of anime here gets remade in America as film.
Yeah.
Or you'll see something very similar. So you're going to see a bunch of these that you're going to go, man, that reminds me of this. It gets worse as this list goes on. Trust me. But yeah, that one, Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, it's worth it. When it came out, I gave it an 8 also. All right. And this list, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I gave out but maybe 3 9s out of all 8. Yeah. All 8, I think I only gave out 3 that were just amazing, to the point where I was like, almost were 10s. This next one was almost a 10. It was near perfect. Everything about this one was perfect, from the music to the opening animation, to the ending animation, to the stories, to the characters, to the pacing, to the development. Everything about this was the near perfect romantic comedy. All right. And it was called The Kawaii Complex Guide to Manners and Hostels. Totally, what happened to this kid, his name was Kaz. He's a high school freshman, and he's going to have to start living alone because his parents are now working in a different, I think they're coming to the U.S. to work on a job for a while. So he's going to be in Japan alone. Mm-hmm. And they were like, hey, why don't you go stay at this hostel? You'll be, there were some people, but this is a different hostel. So these people are like long-term living there. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. So it's not like he's, there's always a flux of people in and out. The people that live here long time. Like currently, these people are here for the long haul. So almost like an apartment complex, but with a home setting. You eat dinner together like in a home setting. The older lady that manages the house, she makes meals every day. She kind of acts as like a den mom to people. So it's cool. I mean, that it was neat. So he's kind of hopped up on this side thing. I'm a freshman. I'm basically independent now. I got this new life, and I'm a teenager, and man, world's about to open up for me. It's going to be great. And he goes and moves into this boarding house, basically, the Kauai complex, and everybody at this freaking boarding house is out of their damn mind. Like the guy who's basically his roommate, his next door neighbor, like they have a sliding door between their rooms. And so they're basically roommates. And he finds out that the guy is like a total pervert and a masochist on top of that. And he's an author. So like he's like, how do you never work? He said, I make royalty checks for my books. He finds that out in the show because he's trying to figure out how do you have time to be a pervert and a masochist all the time and like have to run from the police because you were staring too long at girls in schoolgirl outfits. So I mean he's really out there. And he's like, and the kid that's in the room with him is like so squared away, Joe squared away, kind of innocent. So it's funny to watch these two play off of each other like a buddy comedy. But no, you find out that this dude he's freaking loaded. He's rich. He could have his own house, but he'd rather live in a boarding house. Right. And so then you got this other girl who's like a borderline alcoholic office girl. She's an office lady. And she like hates couples because of all the unfortunate luck she's had with men. So like she hates seeing couples happy. Like she'll see people happy or
fuck those people.
Yeah, she is really like that. And then like she's always getting invited to weddings and because she's the only one of her friends that's not married. So she's bitter and drunk most of the whole series. And I'm like, everything about her is amazing, and I want her to be my real wife. I mean, it was just, and then you had, there's this other girl, like her name was Sakaya, and she was like, she looked innocent, but she was like, she enjoys leading men on, and she's really like into herself, just vapid and just shallow, and she's like a total bitch the whole episode. The whole series, I don't know how they do this. You hate her, but you love it when she's on screen.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's this girl at his high school, right, that he meets, and she's a senior at his high school, right? And she's always quiet. She never really talks to anybody. She's she works in the library. She's always face down in a book, and he falls in love with her at the school, and it turns out she's the granddaughter of the lady that runs the boarding house. Mm-hmm. And it's about their relationship in school and how he's fallen in love with her, and she's finally starting to lift her head up out of a book and start to kind of notice him and stuff around him and how he interacts with the world. It's really sweet, really tender, but big on laughs. And it's kind of hard to be big on laughs when you got that much evil personalities living in one boarding house, but at the same time they balance it with the tenderness and sweetness of first love and young love. It's really good. I found it to be entertaining. I gave it a 9. Belly rated this one higher than I did, man. He was like I gave it a 5. It's number 5 on my top 8. I think it's number 3 on his list. Mm-hmm. So that's when he and I got into it about. He was not big on that. So when we got to that one, I was like, okay, cool. So I figured like we're good now. So we got out. We've knocked out 8, and I'll just recap. We got number 8. We came in with Sakano. Number 7, we had Plastic Memories. Number 6, we had Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. And number 5, Kauai Complex Guide to Manners and Hostels. That's 5, 6, 7, and 8 right there. Okay. Yep. So number 4 is I'm gonna say this now. Number 4 is one that's near and dear to my heart. Number 4 cannot be watched without a box of tissue. It is brutal. It's a love story, but it is one of those love stories where it's like, we're gonna tear your heart out. You're probably not gonna get through the last 3 episodes of this anime without crying. And then once we think you've cried enough, we're going to make you cry again because we like to write heartbreaking, heart-wrenching shit. And it was awesome. I didn't cry. I was so impressed that I didn't cry. Some of my manly men in my group, not so lucky. And I promised them I wouldn't name any names today. So
but you're gonna name all of them.
I'm not going to name their names
Come
because
on.
these fools know me. No, these fools are big. They will hurt me if I name. You will see me on crutches if I name just two of them's name. So I was like, you guys are all getting a pass on this one. I'm not saying that Belly was one of them. I'm just saying there were some people there were men that could not get through this one. They could not finish this one. Like, and I was like, bro, it's only like 24 episodes. How are you guys tapping out? They went, bro, I didn't know what you were signing us up for. And I was like, I told you these were, romance. And so they some drama, some comedy.
Mm-mm.
I put them through the ringer with this one. I was watching episodes and I felt bad that I was making them watch these. I felt bad, it's so brutal. So, okay, it's called Your Lie in April. Now, here's the cool thing. This is actually on Netflix. Netflix brought this one over. I watched it when it first ran in Japan, so I watched it on Crunchyroll. Okay, but Netflix has since picked it up since Crunchyroll quit airing it. It is currently available on Netflix. Get a box of tissue. Get some Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Because you're going to cry and you're going to have to eat a lot of ice cream to console yourself after you watch this one. I'm going to just go into it now. And what it is the show is called Your Lie in April. And, man, okay, I don't even know how to talk about this. It's this kid, okay? And I don't know what it is about kids. Like, maybe it's because I'm a dad. But if I see kids get jacked up by, like, something happening in life, I automatically get suckered in. You know what I mean? So I'm automatically like, okay, I'm catching feelings here because these are kids involved. And so there was this kid, his name was Kusei, and he was a piano prodigy. I mean, the kid was brilliant. His mother had been training him since he was like 4 or 5 to play the piano and to play like Bach and Chopin and to play Beethoven and to play it correctly and to read the music. And you don't freestyle. You play it the way it was written and you play it excellently. You play it per note the way, I don't care how hard it is, you have to play it per note. And she pushed him. Okay. Mm-hmm. And even as a prodigy, he just thought that was life. Right. But she was a tad bit abusive. So there were some scenes that are kind of hard to watch where maybe she, slapped him in the face because he missed a note or she hit him with a ruler. She was pretty tough, okay? And what happens is he could hear music and everything was like a metronome, His mother ends up dying when he's young. And he has a nervous breakdown at like a giant concert, right? Mm-hmm. And when he has that breakdown, he can play the piano, but after a few seconds of playing, he can't hear his own music anymore. Like he's had a mental breakdown and now he's blocking out his own. So if he's at the piano, he could start off this beautiful sonnet and then seconds into it,
just gone.
His hearing, he can't hear the notes he's playing. All right, and that's what happens. So he's unable to play anymore. He can't hear his own music. He just basically, he knows how to write music and do stuff in his head. So he's making a living in like junior high because he was a prodigy, writing jingles for big companies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. You're watching this kid and you say, man, she pushed him to the edge and then he broke down. And now here he is in junior high and he's already broken. You hadn't even got to high school, bro. It's going to get so much tougher for you. And so what happens is, like 2 years passes, man. He still avoids the piano. He's leaving behind all of his fans. Plus, he had people that had admired him. He was a big star, man, being a young piano prodigy. And he just basically has these two best friends. There's one girl, Tsubaki, and Ryoto. And he's just like, these are my two friends, and that's all I need. I can be myself. I can be a normal kid around them. I don't have to perform. I don't have to be on time. I don't have to do all that stuff. And that's it. So he's just going through life, getting great grades, trying to keep his head down and not do anything. But one day he meets this girl. And her name's like Kaori, and she's a violinist, and she's in the park. And she's got this long blonde hair, and she's playing the violin, and she's playing it playfully, and she's entertaining these little kids in the park. And he just fixates on her.
Yeah.
And And the way that they do it is like when he sees her, he sees the world in black and white. He can't hear music. Everything is black and white. There's no color in his world. That's it. He goes through a colorless world ever since the nervous breakdown. And then he hears her and he can actually hear the music. And then the world starts opening up into color when she plays. And he's like, there's so much life in what she does. And she's totally different from me, who was in this rigid, lifestyle. And he starts to admire her for her freedom. She has this reckless abandon when she plays music, and she plays with passion and life. And he's like, man, I wish I could have did that. And it's really this thing about she figures out what's going on with him, and she starts trying to help him back on his journey to be a musician again. Mm-hmm. And she says, I want you to be my piano player, and for my accompaniment when in these violin competitions, I have to win them. And what you don't know is that she's kind of got some health issues, and you don't know what's going on with her and why she's on this time schedule. And then he's got his issues, and it's just about this relationship that builds between these two. And then it gets even more complicated because his childhood friend, the girl, is secretly in love with him. His best friend, the guy, ends up falling in love with the violinist girl, and then he's kind of secretly in love with the violinist girl. So you start going through this thing, and you start realizing that, hey man, this is like a weird love story from a soap opera. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of moving parts, and there's all this stuff where you're kind of going, what's up with this girl, and why is she trying to bring him out of his shell, and will he ever be able to come out of his shell? And the more you start figuring out what put him into that shell, I mean, it really deals with a lot of issues like, first love, child abuse, broken relationships. Do we stress our kids too much trying to make them be overachievers? And I mean, it deals with a lot in 24 episodes.
Yeah.
But that 24 episodes, and because it wasn't scared, it didn't pull punches, and because it wasn't scared to pull punches, I gave it a 9. I mean, it was just an amazing run for an anime, but it was hard on grown men to finish. It was hard on grown men. So, and that's why it'll always be on one of my top favorites, man. It made to number 4, and it's a 9, and that's Your Lie in April. And I think, like, if you try to find it on the hack sites and stuff, I think it's like Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso, something like that. It's crazy. But if you're on my anime list and you type in Your Lie in April, you'll find it. You can find it. Number 3. So these are my top 3. Okay. Which I can't believe it took us this long to get there. So I think we can get these out. I think we can do this next 3 in maybe 10 minutes. Okay, so let's get through it. Number 3 is a show called I Can't Understand What My Husband Is Saying. And it's pretty much my wife's story. If my wife ever wrote an anime, this is her story. Mm-hmm. And what it is there's this girl. The guy's like a shut-in. He's an otaku. He runs a blog, attends anime conventions with his cross-dressing younger brother. And he's like a really good cook. And the reason he's a really good cook is because he's always shut in his house and he can't starve to death. And that's all he does. He does not go outside of the house to do anything, right? That's his thing. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be with people. I just want to do my anime and my manga and run my blog. And he does almost, his blog's a lot like our podcast. He talks about his favorite animes. That's all he does. And what episodes it is, and who the author, who's writing it, and who's drawing it, who's doing the production. That's all he does. And so he's kind of cool. I was like, okay, I see a little bit of myself in this guy. His wife, on the other hand, was like super popular, super pretty, did well in school, liked by many. Mm-hmm. They're total opposite ends of the spectrum. And they end up meeting one night, and they both fall in love, head over heels in love with each other, even though they are the total opposites of each other. Total opposites of each other. And so what happens is this show, basically, it was 2 seasons worth, and they're really quick episodes. I mean, I think the longest episode is 5 minutes. 5-minute stories. There's just like almost like commercial breaks. And what they did was they would tell a different story about their relationship with each one. And it just deals with this guy who was a total otaku, anime manga fan, and this woman who didn't understand that world, and how they came together to be a husband and wife, and the things that she would go through with him. Super cute, super adorable. 2 seasons. At the end of season 1, she gets pregnant. Mm-hmm. So season 2 is her, trying to get him ready to be a father. And then she's scared about it. She has a girl, you know. She said, "Is he going to be trying to dress her up in cheerleader outfits and stuff?" She's so worried about it because he's like so weird about some things in manga and anime. So she's like, "Oh my God, let it be a boy, let it be a boy." So, I mean, it was cool. It was funny, man. It was really funny, and it was like what got me was just like in 5 minutes they can make you truly care about these two people.
Yeah.
And they did it for like 2 seasons, man. It was really good. And she's just always trying to understand the vast, complicated world of anime and manga, and then try to figure out how her husband is that deeply entrenched in it and what happens. And it's just watching these two people grow as a couple, but also at the same time, it had their friends, the other couples that they were friends with that were familiar with him. And his brother seriously was a cross dresser, and it's, to me, it was neat to see a guy that, they brought this character in. He was a cross dresser, but they didn't play that for laughs. They actually brought him in, they just brought him in, as a character. He was treated with a lot of respect, and he had feelings and emotions. It was funny. I really liked everything about that show. All right, so number two. We're at number 2. Good God, I feel like I've been talking forever about these.
You kind of have.
Oh man, you got me today with this one. So number 2, and this one's a shout out to the guys. Belly loves this show.
Mm-hmm.
Belly loves this show. I think we agreed on this one at number 2 on my list. It was called My Love Story. Okay, and that's I think you can actually, I've seen it in Barnes & Noble. In America, you can still get it as My Love Story in Barnes & Noble. The manga is still running, but it is called Ore Monogatari is what it's called, if you don't find it under My Love Story. But I think on Crunchyroll, that's the name it goes by. You can actually search it under My Love Story, and it'll pull that up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so weird, man. This is another opposites attracts kind of anime. This guy, he was muscular. He was tall. His name was Takio, and he was like Lurch from the Addams Family.
Mm-hmm.
Lurch from the Addams Family. That's what he looked like. Okay, so if Lurch from the Addams Family was in high school, all right, he's big, he's muscular, not very good looking. Everybody thinks he's an adult. They look at him and they think this kid is like 6'7". He's got to be an adult, or he's got to be, a Yakuza. He's scary, right? And every boy in his high school looks up to him as a hero because of his courage and his chivalry. But every girl in the school is frightened of him and thinks he's ugly. And they just, they talk shit about him all the time. Mm-hmm. And so now, and it's bad enough that his looks are, to scare everybody away. But his best friend is the hottest guy in the school. So it's like super hot guy and his bodyguard. That's what it looks like when they're hanging out. And so, and his buddy, man, Sunakawa, I think was his buddy's name or something like that. He was like, every girl fell for him. Every girl wanted to be him. Every girl just wanted to hang out with him. He was just amazingly handsome, super cool, super smart, A student. He just had it going on in every aspect of his life. And he and Takio were best friends, man. And what happens is one day they're on the train, and this molester is trying to fill this cute girl up, and Taki sees him trying to fill the cute girl up, and he does 2 moves and beats the snot out of the molester and holds him till the police get there. And he saves the girl. Now, what he thinks, and her name is Rinko, and I called her Ren for the whole series. She was Ren. And since he saved her, and she was like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Then she starts trying to sneak over to his house to see him all the time. Mm-hmm. And so he thinks, well, she's trying to get over here because she goes to this all-girls school. She's only trying to come over here because she wants to see my boy Sunakawa. She wants to see Sunny. She doesn't want to see Taki. She wants to see my boy Sunny. So he's trying to set her up with his best friend, not realizing that she is head over heels in love with him. Even though he's got these rugged looks and stuff, she can't help it. That's who she's in love with. And this thing it's really neat seeing the guy who's not the superstar, handsome, good looks in a love story.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole thing is based on, man. It was just really like the ugly guy gets the girl, and it's just this whole thing about how he's just watching them kind of grow as a couple. All right. Now that brings me to number one, and you're gonna learn something about me if you go through this list and you read all these 8 of these. I am a masochist. I love watching shit that rips people's hearts out, which says a lot about why I've been married so many times. I'm starting to realize this. I like watching bittersweet love stories, man, where it's just tragic endings and they shouldn't have been together and they can't be together. Love that shit. I eat it up, man. And so this one here took number one for me. It's some people were upset. I talked to people online about this one being my number one pick. I have people that are going to write to the show about this. We will have to talk about them in a future episode. My number one pick for my top 8 romantic anime, 1 Week Friends. 1 Week Friends is this crazy thing, and it's about a 16-year-old, who finally finds the courage to speak to his crush and ask her if she wants to become friends. She's the object of his affection. It's this girl named Kaori, and she's quiet and she's reserved, and she's cut herself off from everyone, and she does not spare him the same. She just kind of gives him a blunt rejection. She goes, nope, not interested. That's all she tells him. Don't want to be friends with you. Nope. And so he's like crushed, man. He's like, my God, why does she cut everybody off? I really want to be her friend. And that's all I wanted to do. I didn't even try to date her. I just wanted to be friends with her. And she just, nope, not interested. That's all she told him. He's brokenhearted. And then when he finds out, it's like, I think he went up to the roof of his high school and he was going to eat lunch up there. And that's where she was at. She secludes herself during her breaks and she's up there eating lunch. So he decides to start meeting with her every day in the hopes of beginning to understand her better. Right? And so he starts saying, hey, I want to eat lunch with you. You don't have to be friends, but I want to come up here and eat lunch. You can sit on that side of the bench. I'll sit on this one. We don't even have to talk. Yeah. We'll just come up here and eat. She said, okay, I can't tell you where you can eat. So she stays. And what he's doing is he's like, I'm going to just start using these lunch breaks, maybe ask questions and see if I can build up a conversation with her and try to figure out why she's so hateful and why does she block everybody off. All right, and then what happens is she starts, the more they hang out, the more she begins to open up to him. And then nearing the end of the week, she starts to push him away once again. And he's like, we just had the greatest week together eating lunch, and Friday she blows me off. Just like, okay, I'm still not interested in being your friend. Have a great week. Bye. And she's like, pretty much have a great life is what she tells him. She's done. And what it turns out, man, is that at the end of the week, her memories of those close to her, excluding her family, are forgotten, and they reset every Monday. Now, have you ever seen the movie 50 First Dates?
I haven't seen it, but I know of it.
Okay, so picture it having your memory for a week. I'll put you in your shoes. Let's say you and your girlfriend, right? All the things you've gone through, all the great times you've had together. On Monday, her memories are going to reset. None of that. She never remembers your first date, can remember your first kiss. She doesn't remember the first movie you saw together. You could take her on the most romantic vacation. Come Monday, those memories would reset.
Yeah.
You can kind of see what that's going to be. A woman may say, hey, I don't want to be bothered. I'm not going to make these close relationships. Only people I really remember are my mother, my father, and my sister.
Yeah.
So why make friends? Because if you're close to me, I'm not going to remember you, right? And so what happened was there was an accident in middle school, and she was popular, and now she's unable to make friends in fear of hurting people dear to her, and something happened that made her, like, this accident basically messed up her mind to the point where I just don't remember.
You have to wonder, though, what would be the point of her going to school at that point then?
Here's what kills me, because she goes to school and she can remember lessons and she can remember lesson plans, but friends, like anything with a personal life, social life, blocks out. It's
there
gone.
is a disorder where you basically can forget immediately after you stop looking at somebody who they are based on their face. Like, you still remember everything, but you can't identify
them looking at them.
Any type of a particular person. Like, I would know who you are after we stopped talking and you turned away from me and then turned back. I'd be like, oh, hi, how are you? I don't remember you. There's that. But yeah, I guess it's just a conceit for the story, though.
Bro, but this anime was like, it didn't go, like 50 First Dates didn't give you one of those like cheap Hollywood endings. There's a magical cure at the end. This one didn't either.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about it. 1 week friends was this guy actually determined, I'm going to spend every week of this school year, every Monday when her memory sets, I'm going to say, hey, you want to be friends? And he really starts to help her, like by building a diary and helping her to remember friends and helping bring her out of circle. And she writes down things that are special to her. He builds a story with her. It gets to the point where you start watching it and you're kind of like, where is this going? What are they doing? Because, I love the movie 50 First Dates. I'll say that. 50 First Dates was a great Adam Sandler movie, and Drew Barrymore. As a romantic comedy, it worked. And as this show, it doesn't even rely on jokes. It's more a romantic drama piece. Mm-hmm. It really, really works. And it really works well. It's really well written. But you just kind of watch him struggle to be her friend every week. And you just kind of watch it to go, how's this going to end? How is he going to get her to the point where she remembers it? And is it going to end tragically, or is it going to end happily? And I'm not going to ruin the ending for people and tell you. I would say this. It's number one on my list for a reason. It is definitely worth watching. I think this one's available everywhere. Yeah. I watched it, like I say, Crunchyroll, of course, but I do believe this one also just showed up on Netflix recently, and I know for a fact I think it's on Hulu too.
Yeah.
So, and that's my top 8, man. That is my top 8. But I can tell you already, we're going to have some issues behind this. There will be issues. Trust me. And for those people who already are pissed off, and we know you're listening, I'm not going to name your names, Joe, Nathan, and Belly. We already know you're pissed off. Contact us right in. Get with us. Hit us up at goteamlift@gmail.com and hit us with your list and tell us what you liked. And if you watch some of these, we want to hear from you guys and tell us what you liked about them and which ones you didn't enjoy or what you may think is your number one. Hope to hear from you guys soon. We'll hit you again with our next anime special. You got anything for them, Brandon?
Nope, I think that's it.
Are you going to watch any of these, Brandon?
Probably not.
Brandon, you know I hate you, right?
I don't do anime. That's all.
You will watch one of these one day. I'm going to get you. All right, man. Everybody, y'all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time on the Team Lift Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Team Lift Podcast with your hosts, Brendan Bowie and Roderick McDaniel. Join us again next week as we discuss more topics from geek culture. Be sure to follow us on our Twitter page @GoTeamLift, as well as our personal pages @Coach Silky and @Thighside. You can direct questions and comments to us on our Twitter page, as well as find links to all of our social media outlets. Thank you for listening. See you again next week.